All right, this week, for my question for the episode for you to think about while we record, I've got, what crossover movie do you wish would have happened but hasn't yet, or whatever? Just what crossover movie do you wish would have happened or would still happen maybe?
Okay.
So we'll think about that.
Could be in the future or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess
Just
it would
hasn't
have to
happened
be in the future, right?
Yeah, it would have to be.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
unless we can develop the Skynet technology to go back in time.
Let's
make
not
it
do
happen.
that.
Maybe that's the question. That's the question. If you had the Skynet technology to go back in time and make one crossover movie happen, what would it be?
Okay.
That's the question.
All right.
We're going to tie it into the movie.
There we go.
Your local video store card.
A comic book in your back pocket.
Games with no tutorials.
Music you had to discover.
And drinking water straight from the hose.
These are the things us millennials remember fondly. We are the Jennings brothers.
Join us after the streetlights come on
as we race our bikes from the top of the hill
right down memory lane.
Exchange those quarters, because this podcast takes tokens.
Buckle up, 1991, because we're hurling back in time where the 80s vision of a dystopian future finally hits its peak. Skynet's back from the future with a new plan. Skip the whole global war thing and just terminate the future resistance leader. As a 10-year-old boy. Let's meet John Connor. Bouncing between foster homes ever since his mom, Sarah Connor, got labeled a total nutcase for prepping for the whole robot apocalypse. Apparently, stockpiling canned goods and teaching your kid to disassemble a shotgun in the 90s wasn't exactly normal mom material. So, John's pretty much so on his own. Until the worst planned plot twist in cinematic history walks into the mall to save his life. Cue the explosions, the liquid metal mayhem, and enough firepower to arm a small country. We've got two unstoppable killing machines duking it out for over 2 hours, and yes, one of them gets terminated, and one of them takes a bath. Today, we're diving deep into James. You gotta stop laughing.
I love it. I love it.
Oh, he just caught you out the corner of my eye laughing. It killed me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into the James Cameron cinematic masterpiece. No, I'm not talking about The Abyss. We're talking about Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Yes. What a great
I got
movie.
no plans. It's a great movie. I got no plans to go through a synopsis on this one because I feel like we've all seen it. We all kind of know what's going on. Yeah, great movie. Really enjoyed watching it again. I always enjoy watching this movie. I don't know what it is. I really enjoy watching this movie.
It's good.
Did you get to watch it again?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I love this movie. It is, so in my opinion, this movie, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, is the single greatest action movie of all time.
Best sequel ever.
Oh, sir, it is a rare instance where the sequel surpasses the original, right?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. This movie is so good.
Took everything about the first movie and just turned it up to 100.
Absolutely did.
Absolutely.
I cannot steep enough praise on this movie. It is so good. I love it so much. I've been so excited all week to talk to you about this movie.
Yes. So, I got a question for you. August 29th, 1997, what were you doing? That was Judgment Day.
I was 10 years old. What August, what was it, 29th,
1997, sorry.
I was going to say maybe at the city 29th. Pool, but not at that point. I was probably in class in like 4th grade or something like that.
Yeah.
And I lived to tell the tale. We need to make shirts that say I survived the August 20 whatever 1997
August 29th, 1997 Judgment Day.
Yes.
Yes. What What day of the week would that have been? I don't know. Let's see here. So August 29th, 1997, I was 16.
You in 16, yeah.
Yeah. See, I was in high school. It depends on what day of the week it was. I don't know what day of the week it was, but let's just say it was a weekday. I was in high school. In school, probably. I mean, it doesn't say what time of day it happened, does it?
No.
It says it was August 27th. Is that the day it became self-aware, or is that the day that it launched the nukes?
I think that's the day that it launched the nukes.
That is the day it launched the nukes, yes, because I remember now in her flashback, she said something like August 27th it became self-aware, and then like 2 days later, the 29th is whenever it launched the nuclear attack on...
Yeah, because they... when they realized that it became self-aware, they were trying to disconnect it, to unplug it, and it tries to preserve itself, so it just launches the nukes.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, which I mean, that's what they did in the sequel, right? That was the Terminator 3 was
the Rise of the Machines, I think.
Rise of Machines, yeah. That's what they tried to do with that one, is that was the day of judgment and all that. But we're not going to dwell on that one. Let's go back.
3 wasn't good.
3 was not good.
We'll
touch on sequels later.
Okay.
August 29th, 1997. So this movie was actually set in it was released in 1991, but it was set in, I believe, 94, 95. I think 95, because
was it 95?
It was supposed to be 11 years after the first
10.
one, and he was 10. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it was 95 is what it said.
Which he's supposed to be 10, but Edward Furlong doesn't look... I think he was like 13
I think
or
it was
14.
only like 11 or 12. He wasn't that much older. Yeah, let me see here. Edward Furlong, let's see here. That was 91. And he was born in 77. Okay, so he was...
I mean, they probably shot
14?
it in, 88 or 89, but... No, I guess maybe it would have been 89 or 90 that they shot it. But,
90, yeah.
Yeah, but still, I thought... I love Edward Furlong in this, but I thought, if you're wanting to go for a 10-year-old, you should have cast somebody that's a little bit younger.
Yeah. Maybe, we couldn't fit Corey Feldman in here. He would have been too old.
No.
I don't think he would have fit at all. Maybe he could have been the friend that he had... what's his name? The redheaded kid that was friends with him. He could have played that. He could have been an older friend, like an older foster brother or something.
Yeah, there we go.
That is a bad influence. There, we could have fit him in there. Yeah, so we got Corey in there.
You know where else he'd fit?
Standing invitation. Yeah, always invited.
Show.
Always welcome.
That's right.
We would love to have you. We'd talk about any movie, or music, or whatever.
Whatever you want to talk about, Corey. We'll do
whatever. It. Yeah. So so Terminator 2. Lots of fun. What was do you remember seeing... so I remember in 1990 seeing the trailer for this, the original teaser trailer. Do you know what I'm talking about? So
no.
James Cameron gave this guy like a very small budget and said, go out and make a trailer for this movie that's coming up, and kind of gave him a little bit about it. And so he made this trailer where it's showing the assembly line assembling the T-800, the Schwarzenegger Terminator, right? And all you see is just this Terminator being assembled, and it's like the whole manufacturing process almost in like 30 seconds, if that. And then the final shot is Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator skinned as Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he opens his eyes and they're red. And then it just says Terminator 2 Judgment Day coming next summer. So that was the teaser trailer for it. And, so the setup being that all we've had at this point is Terminator 1, where Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator is the bad guy trying to kill her. So you would think, let's keep that the understood going into the future trailers. Now, I looked this up because I was curious. So I started looking up old trailers on this, and that's the only trailer where they don't say that that Skynet's sent back the liquid metal Terminator and John trained or sent back, or like the Resistance or whomever sent back the Arnold Terminator to protect John Connor in the past. So then you're watching the movie, and if you didn't know that, you wouldn't know what to think of these two Terminators that landed. You might think that they sent two Terminators after him this time, and they're just both
sense,
coming
right?
at different angles. And I feel like that would have been a much funner twist for the audience if they just didn't know coming into it that Arnold's Terminator was actually there to protect them. Or maybe don't show, at least until the movie's premiere, don't show the Robert Pattinson, or was it Robert? No, it's not Robert Pattinson. What's his name?
Robert Patrick.
Robert Patrick. Yeah. Don't show Robert Patrick. Robert Pattinson. I think I just future cast the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, they don't show Robert Patrick as the T-2000. Is that what it's called? T-2000.
The T-1000.
T-1000. Yes.
Yep.
So if they don't show him in the liquid metal form, and they just kind of show him as dressed as a cop, you might assume that he's the good guy coming to save John, because I don't think, upon rewatching it, I don't think at any point up till he gets shot by Arnold's Terminator in front of John that you see he's the liquid Terminator. Because whenever he comes in from the future, you just see the ball. You don't even see the ball. You just see him take out a cop. You don't even see him kill the cop. I mean, we now know probably that he killed that cop, but it more looks like he punched him in the stomach and just took his clothes and everything. But yeah, it feels like he wanted that, but then they just said, screw it. We'll just, it's too cool. The liquid metal thing's too cool. We're going to put it in the trailer and we're going to sell it on that. And you know what? Either way, it worked, because this movie made a ton.
It did, and along those lines, they, like you're saying, they really could have sold that, because when you're watching the movie, when I watched this, I actually watched T2 first, and then later in life, I watched the original Terminator. So, I knew, Arnold was a good guy in this, but if you had only seen the original Terminator, and then you're watching this movie, even from the beginning, for the first 15 or 20 minutes, you can assume that the T-800 is after John, because he's beating guys up in the bar, and he's stealing motorcycles and guns. He's
taking the
and
same
all this
beats
stuff
from the first movie.
Yep. And then even when John's running through the back hallway in the mall, and he sees T-800 coming at him, he drops that flower box and pulls that shotgun out, and you could think, oh, he's getting ready to shoot John. Yeah. And then he does. He fires in his direction, but he clearly
tells
fires
him to
the
get down
T-1000.
first.
Yes, that's it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Says, get down.
So that's a good Arnold impression. So yeah, that entire that first 20 minutes, you could have had the audience completely fooled.
Yeah.
But yeah, they went in a different direction. I mean, I'm not.
You know what?
James Cameron is a great director. I'm not going to question it.
No. But now that we talk about it, we're sitting here talking about it, I was thinking about, as kids. Yes, T2 was the first one that we came across, and T2 had a huge toy run.
Oh yeah, it did.
With it. Yeah. I wonder if that had that informed their decision on selling this movie and maybe not bearing that lead, like billing Arnold as the hero, because they were going to do a whole toy line around this movie. Which, do you remember that toy line?
I remember it. I think I had a T-800. I remember wanting the T-1000 because I think he had little limbs and stuff that you could change. Well,
he blew apart.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
they
he
must
was
have
like a
two
crash
different
test dummy.
ones.
They had a couple different ones. Yeah.
Okay.
They had
remember
one
that
where he was like as a cop and his head would rotate down and then he was like
Okay.
a rocket. Like
Yeah.
the toys had had very little to do with the actual movie.
A rocket launcher.
Yeah, he's got a rocket launch that comes out of his back.
Yeah.
Even though in the movie they explain he can't do complex
can't do
things
that.
or
Yeah, he can be a
chemicals or
knife,
anything like
but,
that. A knife, but yeah. So, but you know, the '90s kids' toys were bizarre. I mean, I remember seeing they had like they would always build like Wolverine in the X-Men toys, but they'd always give him a gun or something, and it's like that's not Wolverine. What are you doing? But you know, they got to put a gun in his hand. So yeah, the toy line was crazy. I remember having several of these toys. The T800, yeah, the T800 was really cool. It was a really good toy, and actually, we were out at a vintage toy shop several years ago, and it was probably like 2 or 3 years ago, and it was the first time Bruce had seen the Terminator 2 movies, and he got really into them. And we came across a little Ziploc bag, and it had like 3 of the characters in there. It was like the Arnold where his chest comes off, and then it was the T800, and it was the T1000 liquid where his legs separate and his torso splits off into 2 pieces, and I think his head is attached to part of the torso. And that's supposed to I think that's supposed to be that final scene where he gets blown apart.
Yeah.
That's what that's supposed to be. But yeah, so it was pretty neat. Or no, you know what? The Arnold he had, it wasn't the chest coming off. It was the one where the arm came off and you could swap out the arm for different things. Because there was that one too. And for some reason, they gave him a claw. Like he had like a normal hand.
I remember that.
And then he had a hand that had like a knife that came out of it.
Yeah.
And then he had like the claw. But yeah, those toys. I remember those. It was a rated R movie with toy line geared towards kids. I mean,
They did it.
You can't
like
get any more 80s.
When we were discussing that, we discussed this in the RoboCop episode. Which, if you like this episode, we think you'll love the RoboCop episode. If you haven't listened to it, go back and check that one out. But yeah, they had a toy line for that. They had RoboCop. I remember having Xenomorphs from Alien.
Yeah,
and they even had the Marines from Aliens with their big old guns and stuff like that. Yep. They had Ripley with that big like mech thing that she was in.
I always wanted that.
Yeah, it was. I don't know how they got away. And Predator, I had a Predator toy. Like, how did they get away with these R-rated movie toys? I don't know. And I wish I wouldn't have gotten rid of them, because those were the coolest things.
Cool. So cool.
You can find some now. Like, if you look online, they have like knockoff ones from like China and stuff like that. And I remember seeing one, instead of RoboCop, it said Robert Cop at the time. But it was clearly RoboCop.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So like, okay, so we're talking about the beginning of the movie, and you know Arnold's going through all his same beats. I had a thought watching it this last time, and maybe we'll buzz past it because it's family friendly.
Sure.
But so as he's walking through the bar, you know, he comes through. Whenever they time travel, they can't go with anything, so they arrive nude.
Yes.
So he's walking through the bar, and I found it funny. I thought it's really funny, and you'll have to give me a little leniency here to go. But I thought it was really funny that as he's walking through the bar, all the women are checking him out, like, oh yeah, like he's got a lot going on, right?
Yeah.
Like not just the muscles.
Yeah.
It's funny that the robots designed him that way.
Right.
Like even the robots know. I just thought that was funny.
Like I would expect something with. So again, without getting into too much, if you've seen
a little more
the
Ken
movie,
doll like.
Well, if you've seen the movie Dogma, sort of a thing. Like but yeah, they make them lifelike.
They make them fully correct.
Yeah.
Which I just thought was funny. Like I would assume, based on their looks, a little generous for the robots.
Yeah.
Now I've always wondered, like, where did they? So all their T800s look the same, right? Mm-hmm. So then I gotta assume that the T1000s look all like him, or are they just liquid metal and it's whoever they first come across?
So I think it's Genesis Terminator Genesis, where they have a T-1000 that looks... I can't remember who the actor is. I don't know if they couldn't... Well, Robert Patrick would have been too old, but I guess with AI, though, they could have made it. Because they made the T-800 and I think Salvation look like...
he looked great.
Looked like Arnold. But yeah, they had somebody else, a different actor, playing the T-1000 in Genesis, so...
Okay.
I don't know. I think they had that.
Like, it was like an Asian guy or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should have just had...
it's whoever they first touch, which makes sense. I mean, like, for film-wise, that makes, like... That's a great plot device, because then you can have anybody cast as one.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Yeah. But, yeah, so they have the T-800. They all look like Arnold. Was there a human that they based that off of, that Skynet based that off of? Did they capture a human and then base that anatomy of the T-800 off of that one specific human? Or did they just, maybe in their infinite, like, AI wisdom, say, this is what we think an apex male would look like, or something like that?
My fun theory is that in the Terminator universe, that Arnold is still this action actor, and Skynet is like looking through, everything on the internet, like, what is the apex male look like? And Arnold Schwarzenegger keeps coming up, so they're like, all right, we got to use this. I know that's not true, but...
Have you ever seen Last Action Hero?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Love it.
And they reference that, and it's Sly Stallone playing Terminator.
Oh, that's he's fantastic. Great in this movie.
Yeah.
No, this is you in the movie.
Yeah, that was great. So that kind of leads into another question I got. If you were to cast this movie today, let's just say Terminator hadn't been made before, and they're casting the first Terminator now, who do you think you could cast as the Terminator today? We'll spring this on you last second.
Is it Dave Bautista? I can't say his name right.
Drax?
Drax, yes. I think he would be
Dave
good.
Bautista? All right. Even though, okay, go back a couple of years, because he's said that he's done doing, like, the superhero stuff. He doesn't want to maintain the body anymore, but, yeah, maybe he could go back a couple of years. I was going to say, and maybe it's just because he looks so much like him, John Cena. Like, he's just, he would have the look, like, almost perfectly, but Bautista would be a good one, too.
Yeah. I could even see, like, I could even see, like, Dwayne Johnson doing this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, because he'll get pretty ripped for some of those Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah.
And other ones that he's done. Or maybe even, like, I don't know, maybe you could go back a couple of years. As much as intense as he was working at it, Hugh Jackman, like, he'll commit to that body type too.
Yeah, because I don't think he has to be, like, bodybuilder.
Yeah, he doesn't necessarily
built,
have to be gigantic. Yeah, he just has to be, like,
ripped and
ripped,
toned. Yeah. I could totally see Jackman.
Yeah. Or really, like, now that we talk about it, he'd be more of like a Rambo, I think now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because he's got like that same build as like Stallone. Which, talking back at our 90s X-Men movie, let's put Stallone as Wolverine.
Yeah,
that might be interesting.
There we go.
He like coming off of Rambo 3, he's got that. Yeah. He's just like super ripped, or what was it, Rocky 4? Right around that time frame. Yeah, that might work.
Yeah, only if if he screams like Gene with the Stallone face.
Oh yeah.
You know what we're talking about, people. If you're at all familiar with Sylvester Stallone, you know the Stallone face.
Yeah. All right, so we got to talk about the music in this movie. Like, the music was just, I mean, there wasn't like, it's not like, there's not like a ton of music throughout the movie, but their use of what they had was just fantastic. That needle drop on the Guns N' Roses, let me back up. Bad to the Bone, whenever they dropped the Bad to the Bone, just that guitar, da-da-na-na-na, like, as he walks out, like, that was perfect.
Yeah.
Perfectly encapsulated the character. And then you go on and you've got, we're introducing John Connor, and we're learning about him, and you've got Guns N' Roses running over him in 1991, peak Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, like, there couldn't have been a better song at that time to describe that kid and who he was.
Sure.
And then I thought it was really neat, like, watching it. And did you notice as he's going down the alley, like, the music he's got on the boombox, it's like in the background, and then as he appears, it comes up louder, and then as he goes back, it ducks off again.
Yeah.
That was just really, just look, the little audio things like that they do, just, those are awesome.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah. I even like the score in this movie. Like the theme, like the Terminator theme, that dun 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 dun, you know, it, like,
that was what they used in the first one, right?
I think it is, yeah. But that's still like, it like, I will still find myself like humming that sometimes. and
But you know what it means.
Yeah. And the use of that in that final scene where he's, you know, being lowered into the metal, the molten metal, and that score is going, and John's like, you know, upset, and it's done so well. I think that, the music is just fantastic. As minimal as it is, it's done very well in this movie.
Yeah, because that one you're talking about, that theme, that main theme from the beginning.
Yep.
And then you let that roll. It goes from that intense setting of that dun 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 dun, and then it kind of like, it softens a little bit, and then that's the part we get whenever he's being lowered into the liquid metal. And it's definitely got, like, that score has a lovely arc of emotion going on.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah.
And and it just, the music just told such a story. It was such a, I don't think there was a single misuse of music in this movie. It was all done perfectly, and it was not overdone or underdone. It was just right.
Yep.
And I think you could say that about pretty much this entire movie from beginning to end. I can't think of anything that I didn't like about this movie. Like, there's nothing that I would want to change. This movie was, I don't say perfect, but it was pretty darn close to a perfect movie.
It is,
beginning to end.
You know, we've talked about some of the movies on here that we've watched, and we're like, oh, this is, you know, I don't know, this movie here, whatever we're talking about, it's good, but it's not something that I could, you know, watch multiple times. Like, I'll watch it once every couple of years. Like, I do. I watch this movie at least once a year. It's just so good. Yeah. And I think it's just done so well that it's entertaining from start to finish. And yeah, it's just one of those movies that I think you just rewatch. And it's not even like, I don't even feel like it's really dated at all. No. I mean, I know it's like, you know, in the 90s, but the special effects are still pretty good.
They hold up pretty good. I mean, the liquid metal's a little, like the part that stands out for me as far as like the special effects showing their age is when the T-1000 is the step parent, the stepmom, and he transitions back into the cop, and it's like, the way they did it was very much so like, okay, we can't have him walk fluidly and make the transition. He has to take a step, pause, then we're going to transition a little bit, and then he's going to take another step, pause, and we're going to transition a little bit more. And they kind of do it in like 3 steps. Yeah. And each time that they transition him, he's paused. He's not moving at all because they're, you know, they want to simplify that effect as much as possible, which I get it. But kind of knowing more about like movies and special effects now, I see what they were doing is they were kind of cheating in a way by making it almost a still frame that they could work with instead of moving imagery. Yeah. And those are really the only things that stand out to me as like it dates the movie a little bit, but yeah, the whole movie is, I mean, it's self-contained. You don't need any of the sequels to tell the story. It works on its own.
You really don't even need the original because the
narrative
Sarah's
tells the story.
shrink, tells everything you need to know. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go right ahead.
No, yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, just the narrative, the narration and of Sarah and the little bit with the shrink does. Yeah, it tells the story of what happened before, enough that you're not being beaten over the head with it, but you're reminded. And so as we talk about it, I'm racking my brain trying to come up with like things that that I could find fault in to kind of pick apart. And I gotta wonder, the Terminator knows the T-1000 and what it is and how it works, but he comes at it with a shotgun right away and blasts it like 3 or 4 times, knowing that that's not gonna kill it or end it. So what's his game plan? Just to stun it? Does the T-1000 have to hold still to like assimilate itself?
I gather that from watching it, because anytime he's really shot, it takes him a second. Like it's almost like he's got to reset, you know. But I think that, you know, when T-800 arrives in 1994 or 5, whatever it was, and he immediately is on a mission. I have to go find John. This is the best weapon I can get right now, is that shotgun that he takes from the barkeep, which the way he just snatches it out of his hand, the guy's like,
perfect.
Okay. But I love the guy because he's like, I can't let you take the man's bike. Like, he seems like a pretty honest guy, you know?
Yeah.
And then he just
it's the kind of barkeep you wanna go to all the time.
Yeah.
It's gonna got you back.
Yeah. But I think like his whole mission at that point was, I know the T-1000's after John. I have to go and get him and keep him away from the T-1000, and then I can figure out how to destroy this thing. Like,
maybe he doesn't know it's a T-1000. Maybe he's going into it just assuming it's another Terminator.
Could be.
Not knowing which generation it is.
Yeah.
And grabs the best weapon he can. And then comes up against him and figures, you know what, we'll stun him, and then, like you said, we'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
But they keep coming at him with like they keep shooting him like it's going to do something, but it never seems to do anything. Maybe it's like, because, you know, later on whenever... okay, before we get in, let's talk about probably... Okay, what was your favorite scene from the movie?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, it's when they are breaking Sarah out of the institution.
Oh yeah.
I think that is really good. But there's so many great scenes in this. Like, it's just, the action is almost non-stop.
It really is.
And I think that's why it makes it such a great action movie. Like, honestly, if you pay attention, if you're trying to make sense of the time travel story, you can punch holes in it all you want.
Yeah.
Because, you know, why is Skynet sending this thing back to, like in the first one, to kill Sarah, when they could have sent him back further when they have more, when we have more primitive weapons, and kill like her grandparents, or something like that. I don't know, but
see, they should have established that like her brother designed Skynet, and so they can't go back too far in the timeline. So
that would have made sense. I
think that's a hidden plot hole.
There we go. Yeah. But yeah, I think that whole scene when they're at the whatever, the institution, or I don't think it's a prison. I think it's just more of a mental institution. Yeah. Oh, that whole scene is great. Like watching Sarah break out, and then like, because she can hold her own. Like,
and that's what we established there. She doesn't have to be rescued.
No, and you want to talk, like, you know, if you want to look for a strong female character in a movie, like there's, for me, the first two places I look is Ellen Ripley in the Alien franchise, and then Sarah Connor in the Terminator franchise.
Agreed.
Because, I mean, she could
No
straight
damsels
up
in
kill you.
distress there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that scene's great. So,
Yeah.
what's your
watching it
favorite?
again, that scene started, and I'm having the same thoughts. I'm thinking this is the greatest scene throughout the whole movie. It's probably my favorite scene. From like you said, that whole from the moment she grabs that paperclip till the moment that they get in the car and John removes the little hook and throws it on the ground. That whole run was probably my favorite scene until I was reminded later in the movie of towards the end. It's probably the last scene whenever they're in the truck, they're getting chased by the semi-truck and the liquid nitrogen spill happens.
Oh, yeah.
That part was probably my favorite part. And again, it's like where the special effects hold up the greatest, and it just looks fantastic. It's just such a great juxtaposition of the steel mill and the liquid nitrogen, the T-1000, he's liquid metal. He comes down, he's just coated in this liquid nitrogen. He's frozen solid as he's walking, and then just like shattered. He shoots him and he shatters, right? And just that whole bit. And then they're, kind of playing this like hide and go seek game in this foundry, trying to get away from the T-1000. I'm not sure what their escape plan was, if they had one, or if they got there and they were like, this will work, because I don't know what their plan was for dealing with any of it to begin with. I guess they were going to blow up that building, but that didn't take care of the T-1000.
T-800 tells them, like, take the off-ramp as they're on the road.
Yeah.
And I don't really...
But he's got detailed files.
Yeah, that's true. I guess maybe that is his plan, to get him to the steel mill and just melt him. But you are you glazed over one of the best one-liners in movie history before he shoots the frozen T-1000, the "Hasta la vista, baby."
Oh yeah,
and then shoots
this
him.
movie.
Yeah,
is full of catchphrases.
Oh yes,
you got "Hasta la vista, baby."
Yeah,
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
You're terminated. What was the rest of them? There was a couple more, weren't there?
There was,
Oh, there were several.
Yeah,
but yeah, this movie was just full of one-liners.
Yeah,
from beginning to end.
Yeah,
that was great. But that liquid metal scene, we were talking about the weaponry and what effect that has on the T-1000. When he's shattered and he comes back together, he's glitchy at that point.
Yep.
And I wonder if maybe that's what the T-800 was after, is he knew if he inflicted enough damage over time, it'll start glitching out and he won't work properly or whatever. So maybe that was the plan with the weaponry all along. I don't know.
Now, have you watched any of the like special features? So I have this movie on Blu-ray. Okay. Yeah. Have you seen, like, there's the deleted scenes where after that, like, he is glitching out and he's like grabbing on to like the railing, and then he looks down and his hand has become like the railing, or his foot. Yeah.
I watched the extended cut of it when I watched it. So there was like 20 extra minutes in the one I watched, and that was part of it. Yeah. It's like he grabs that railing and it goes like the yellow and black caution striping all over his hand. Yeah. So that was part of it. I always thought that was in there. I remember that from early on. Was that not in the original cut?
It's not in the original cut.
Oh,
yeah, they have it when he ripples. But that the other stuff isn't really in there, and I don't know why they cut that like that. I don't know. It makes sense to have it in there, but I mean, it's already a long movie. Like, maybe they were just looking.
Yeah, it's like 2:17. The theatrical run of it was.
Yeah.
So it's a long movie. But the part where he realizes that the Terminator can do anything that he asks, that he tells it to do, that he has full control of this Terminator. He may have a little boy's best dog ever.
Oh, yeah.
The Terminator.
Yeah.
Like, that is the best guard dog you could ever have, I think.
Yeah.
Because he has complete control over this T-1000.
When he figures that out, like, I felt so bad for those two guys. Like,
oh, yeah.
When he's screaming help, and the guys are like, they're being good citizens. So, like,
yeah.
some adults trying to hurt this kid. We don't know what he's doing. Let's go take care of it. And then, like, he just lets him just
get out of here.
Just beat the crap out of him. Like, what the heck? These guys will never help anybody again.
No. They are completely. They're done being good citizens. I don't know that they could help anybody again. What, did he break that one guy's the arm and the other guy's got shot in the leg or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're never helping again.
No. I mean, there's so many people in this movie that are just normal citizens that meet just a crazy, untimely end.
Oh,
because that guy in the beginning, when they're at the mall in the back hallway, and that guy's like, "Hey, you don't belong here," and then he just gets shot up,
blows him away.
And I'm just like, this poor dude came into work. He's probably making minimum wage in a shoe store or something, and he's back there and. The thanks he gets is a couple bullets in the chest. Like, that's just terrible.
Or all the people on the highway that just get plowed into by an 18-wheeler going easily twice the speed they're going.
Or I take the most tragic death is Dyson, I feel like.
Oh, yes.
Because he dies
a hero, though.
Oh, he does. But when he figures out, like, what his actions are going to lead to, like, he really is a good man. He's like, I don't want this. Let's go fix this. And
I regret that we can't spend more time with Dyson. I feel like there should be more. I don't know how you would make a whole movie for that guy, but he needs a movie. Although, have you ever seen the show Eureka that they used to have on Sci-Fi Channel?
I'm familiar with it, but I've never watched it.
He was on it, and he was really good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that I felt like every time I watched the show, I felt like I was getting a little bit of that Dyson again.
Yeah.
So if you want a little more Dyson, maybe go back and watch
Eureka
on Sci-Fi.
I always wanted to watch that, but I never got around to doing it. So
it was a fun one.
That out. Yeah. But like, so I had to. I asked myself, and it's something I didn't think about until the rewatch here. But if the Terminator hadn't went to the window and started firing the minigun and everything and blowing up the cars and all that for the police officers, would the SWAT team have come in as quickly as they did? And would they have come in with guns blazing? Because if he hadn't done that, I think Dyson would have still been alive. Because he's just walking, doing his thing. Yeah. He's taking the detonator to Sarah, and they bust in and they're shooting.
Of how that all played out, but they came in hot, for knowing that there was a child with them. They came in hot. Now I was trying to remember, whenever you see all the news reports and everything and the police reports of what's going on, were they listing or were they referring to John as if he's in a hostage situation, or were they referring to him as more of a co-conspirator?
I think
how were they
approaching him as an
it?
accomplice. Yeah,
you think so?
The way I understand,
he did go and help him escape her.
Yeah,
help her escape.
Yeah,
yeah. So they must have.
But how do you do that with a 10-year-old? Though,
yeah, you got to treat him like a kid. You can't come and get guns blazing on a 10-year-old.
No. Now, did you know? When Miles is sitting there with the detonator, and the SWAT team walks up, and he's, I don't know how much longer I can hold this. The SWAT team guy that's in the gas mask is Hank. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. From Breaking Bad. Yeah.
I saw it again, and I was like, oh, yeah, that is Hank, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can kind of see it. I mean, it's like 91. He was, I don't know. He couldn't have been more than like 30 at the time.
30 or something, yeah.
Not even that, because, I mean, if he was 30 at that time, that means whenever he was doing Breaking Bad, he was, well, I guess 50.
40s,
so, he could have been
40 to 50.
He could have been between 30 and 40 when he did that. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I guess that makes sense, Time flies funny.
Oh, it does.
You look back and you're like, oh, that was like forever ago. And sometimes you're like, oh, that was just yesterday. Okay. Yeah. So whenever they break her out of prison, and the psychiatrist,
Psychiatrist, I think. I don't
psychiatrist,
know
the doc.
the doctor.
Whenever the doc finally
somebody out
sees
there can tell us the difference. But
a Terminator for the first time, like he sees that liquid metal one, and he sees the other guy. The
I
look
love his
on his
action.
face,
His reaction, yeah.
What kind of therapy do you think the doctor needs after that?
Oh well,
and do they believe him?
Like,
is he institutionalized like she was?
Oh, I don't know, but he's like, can you imagine what's going through his head? Like, oh my God, she was telling the truth this whole time, and so.
Did he come back in one of the future ones?
I don't remember because he's in the first one.
Yeah, because he's the doctor, right? In the first one?
Yeah. I don't remember if he's in the other ones.
He was in Terminator 3.
He was in 3?
He was in 3. I don't remember.
I guess he survived.
What he did or, like what happened, but he was in 3.
I know.
He passed away last year.
Oh.
81. 81. Holy
crap. Wow. He lived a good long life, then.
Yeah, he looked good at the time, too.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, he was in the third one.
Well, he ends up running away at one point because it's later, like not far after that scene where you look back down the hall, I think behind the T-1000, and he's not standing there anymore. So like he ended up taking off.
Yeah.
But two things about that scene. One, what is up with the orderly licking Sarah?
Oh, that was just even as a kid seeing that, I was like, "This is disgusting. What is wrong with this guy?
The guy is so
He's got
messed
problems."
up. Yeah, but so there is a mistake in there where it's really hard to see if you're watching it. Like you have to pause it. But when T-800 is like throwing those orderlies that are, right there before. The T-1000 walks through the bars.
Oh yeah.
He's throwing them against the wall. The black gentleman, the orderly, he throws him against the wall, and if you pause it at the right moment, when he's against the wall, he changes ethnicities. It's a white guy that's against the wall. So
really?
I've seen these memes all over the internet that's like, you remember the time the T-800 threw the man so hard against the wall that he changed ethnicities?
I can see that.
So I don't know if I'm sure they shot that and they're like, oh, we need that scene again, and maybe that actor wasn't available, and they're like, oh, we're going to shoot it quick enough that you just
or the stunt man they use. They're like, nobody will notice. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's funny. No, I didn't notice that. Yeah. Talking about your missing things or whatever.
Yeah. It's hard to see it if you're watching it just.
Oh yeah, and in your mind
straight.
fills in the blanks on things like that too.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure he comes back in the third one. I don't know. But that's another thing that I thought was a really cool part of it. Watching it again, and as a kid was probably one of my favorite things, is the T-1000 disguising itself as that checkerboard floor.
Oh yeah.
And then the guy walks on it and he becomes him.
Mm-hmm.
Although he said he has to make contact with the subject to get its DNA to become that, right?
Yeah.
Well, whenever he walks on with his shoes, he's not making DNA contact. So how did that work? I'm wondering. Did he maybe needle through the shoe?
It's one of those things like with the timeline. You just have to accept it for what it is.
All right, we'll accept it for what it is. Yeah. Now, did you know that guy? They were twins that they used for that scene. Yeah.
Yes,
so that's why it looked really good.
Linda Hamilton.
Linda Hamilton. Yeah, she's
her twin. Yep, and that scene in the end. Yep, they actually used twins, which I think is a great idea. You're saving on money.
Twins.
Your
special effects look on point.
Oh yeah. Man, these special effects look good. Yeah, they do.
Guess what? It's not special effects.
Yeah.
Special DNA.
Special effects guys are like, hey, we'll take an Oscar for this. Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to jump back towards the. I don't know. At this point, it doesn't really come in anywhere specifically, but so the whole premise of T2 is Skynet is being built off of the chip and the hand that they recovered from the first Terminator, right?
Correct. Yep.
All they recovered was the hand and the chip. What happened to the rest of it? Like, I gotta imagine if they got that chip, they got that skull somewhere. What other lab has the rest of this Terminator?
Yeah, because in T1 he was crushed in the machine, but he still had parts, and that's like, so when T1000's melted and they're lowering Arnold down into the steel, and he's like, he's telling him, we got one chip left, and he points to his head, and we got to melt everything. They forget about his arm that got caught in the gear. So that's still sitting out there. Like, somebody's going to find, a worker is going to find that, right? Like, or it's not just going to be hidden in the steel mill.
There's a cut scene where there's like a police janitor cleaning up the crime scene. He's like, what's this? Just throws it in the pile of liquid metal. It's a unsung heroes of Terminator 2.
Yeah. But you remember that? I remember being terrified watching the scene where Sarah is dreaming about when the nuke goes off, and like just that blast wave coming through and her body burning, and I remember just, I don't know, I was so scared of that scene. Like, when I would, it is. When I would watch that movie as a kid, I would try to fast forward to that scene because
back then, we didn't have a bunch of representations of what a nuclear explosion would look like. So to see that on the screen was shocking. It was, it was intense. Now we're numb to it. We see it in, The Simpsons and every other TV show and sitcom, and it's overused. But it was shocking for sure. I got one more thing I want to touch on. I want to ask, so whenever he's flying the helicopter, did you notice that he had like 3 hands going on at once?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so he's got one hand on the yoke, and he's got one hand firing the gun, and then he's got another hand that's like reloading the gun. I can't remember what the other hand was doing, but he had 3 hands going on all at once.
I've never noticed
really
that.
Cool.
Yeah. Wow.
So
that
was pretty neat. I thought that was a pretty neat little touch.
Yeah,
like he would.
Just don't watch. I have to look at that.
Just makes you wonder. Like he could be in the kitchen and like cooking up a meal and have like 8 arms going. And, he could be a really efficient chef if he wanted to be. Or
we'll put him on the bear.
Yes. All right. So I don't know. Do you got any final thoughts on Terminator 2?
So that final scene, I really wanted to see Sarah be the one that killed the T-1000. She almost gets him. Like, she's pumping that shotgun. She almost gets him. And I really thought that would have been a
hero moment.
Yeah, hero moment. Because she deserves it. Like, she's been, traumatized, and she's been looked at like a crazy person her whole life. And to have her be the one, she's protecting her son. And to have her be the one to kill the T-1000 would have been great. I know with the movie, like, you've got the star power of Arnold. You have to use it. Like, he has to be the one that...
I think her hero moment is protecting her son and beating that war drum from the first movie through the third movie, really.
Oh, yeah.
So we didn't talk about the sequels. Have you seen all the sequels?
I have seen most of them. I haven't seen every single one. I've seen the third one, which I didn't.
Probably the most disappointing.
Yeah, I watched Salvation. What other one? I think I watched Genesis. I haven't seen the newest one, Dark
Fate. Yeah. Okay, so that's the one where they brought Linda Hamilton back.
Yes,
as Sarah Connor, and I feel like that's the better sequel of all of them, in my opinion. Obviously not better than 2, but if I had to watch a trilogy of these, it would be 1, 2, and Salvation. Or what was the last one? Genesis? No, not Salvation.
Dark Fate.
Dark Fate, yeah. It'd be 1, 2, and that one.
Okay.
that one was. I mean, it's not like, it's not the greatest movie, and it's not as good as 2, obviously, and arguably probably not as good as 1. But of all of the movies, it's the third best, I would argue.
Well, even just having Linda Hamilton reprise her role is...
Yeah, bringing back Linda Hamilton. They figured out a way to age Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator, so he worked within the his age or whatever. So that all worked, and then they wrapped up, or they took care of the John Connor storyline in a way that worked within the franchise. Did you ever see the TV show they did?
I did.
Connor Chronicles?
I didn't finish it. I remember watching... Yeah, I liked it. I watched the first... How many seasons did that run? It wasn't like a super long...
It was only 2. It wasn't that long.
I think I watched the first season, and then... Like, I watched it live, and then, like, I get fickle with things, and I just didn't pick up season 2, but I did like it. I remember liking when I first watched the first episode. I thought, wow, this is actually good. Like, I wasn't expecting much from it.
Oh, you know what? It only had 1 season.
Oh, okay. Well, then I've seen it. Yeah. Yep, I've seen it.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, it had 2. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm pulling it up now. It had 2. It was loading slow.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a second season.
Okay.
I couldn't remember.
But I thought when I was watching this movie, I was thinking, maybe I should go back and watch that television series again.
Yeah, it was a pretty good one. Yeah. Definitely at least the first season.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't see that too often. A good series based on a movie. But yeah, that one I enjoyed that one a little bit. I kind of wish they would have wrapped it up a little. I wish they would have been given the opportunity to wrap it up, I should say, because the second season does end on a bit of a cliffhanger, if I remember correctly. But, it was all fun. So, that was, our take on Terminator 2.
Yeah.
And so before we close it out, what crossover movies, if you had the Skynet technology, what crossover movie would you go back in time and make?
Okay, so having read the comic miniseries, I would want to have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and a Batman movie together.
Oh, Batman. Okay. I thought he was going to say the Turtles and the Ghostbusters.
No. TMNT and Batman. Have you read that comic?
Okay.
Like the IDW comic?
I think I have. I know I have it. And I think I read it. It came out like years ago. And I want to say that me and Bruce watched the animated movie they did based on it. I don't know if it was based on the comics or if it's just they just took the idea, or maybe I'm conflating the comic into an animated movie. I can't keep it straight.
Yeah.
It's been so long.
Yeah.
I've had too many sleepless child nights since then.
Yes.
But yeah, I've seen that. That's a good one. Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say, I think Turtles and Ghostbusters would be fun. That's another series they did, and I've seen those and I've read some of those. Those are fun. Actually, they've done, I think, they have 3 full graphic novels based off of all that. So that one's gone on quite a while. But if I could go back and make the movie, it would be RoboCop versus Terminator.
Oh yeah.
I think if we could see those two go off against each other, that would be a lot of. I mean, you got Aliens versus Predator, and that was a lot of fun.
Yep.
We got to get RoboCop versus Terminator going.
Now, who would win this? Like, clearly in Aliens versus Predator, like the Predator was the alpha.
Yeah, the superior for sure.
Superior. Yeah.
Who would win? T-800.
You think T-800 would win?
Yeah, I think so. Because RoboCop's too slow. He can't
That's
handle
true.
stairs.
That's true. Yeah.
He's way
That's
too slow.
absolutely true. Yep, that's all. That's all you had to say.
Arnold ripped that gun out of his hand so fast.
Yeah.
And if he's
Yeah,
going to
it
go
really
against
wouldn't
the
be much of a
T1000,
challenge, would it?
No, it would. No, it'd go pretty quick. I think you'd have to do it like Batman versus Superman. They'd start out as adversaries, and then they would become allies to take on, I don't know, Skynet or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe Skynet comes out of RoboCop somehow or something like that. And RoboCop ends up having to lower himself into liquid metal to prevent Skynet.
Okay, that works, I guess. Well, next week.
Yes, next week. What you got?
How about Twister?
Twister. We're going to continue this our blockbuster summer rewind with Twister. So stay tuned for that.
The late great Bill Paxton, who is the only actor, by the way, to have been killed by an alien, a Terminator, and what was the other thing?
Right?
No, not a tornado.
No, he didn't. Oh, okay, not a tornado. Okay.
It was an alien, Predator, and Terminator, I think.
A Terminator?
Yeah, he was in T1, Terminator 1.
Was he now?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, like in the future?
No.
Was he in the
in 1984. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he's like a punk. He's got like this like punk rock hair and everything.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right. I might have to go back and watch the first one again. I haven't seen it forever.
Yeah. Bill Paxton.
Yeah, after I finish up Twister.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, so join us next week. We are going to we're going to be watching and discussing Twister.
And you got a little something special for Twister episode, don't you?
I do. I got a little. Do you want me to say it now, or are we going to save it?
If you want, or you want to wait? You know, save it if you want.
This podcast takes tokens is a Clay Street production.
We can go ahead and say it now. We're going to have a special guest on with us.
Right.
Second time, I guess we've had a guest because we had our favorite Bruce on.
That's right. Our first guest.
Yes, very first guest for the Ghostbusters episode. So, anyway, hope you come and join us. We love bringing these to you. We would also love to hear from you if you like the show. Let us know, or just drop us a line. Tell us what you're thinking. This podcast takes tokens at gmail.com. It's also in the show notes. You can find the link to that. And get in touch with us. Let us know what you're thinking. We'd love to hear from you. So, with that, we've reached another checkpoint, my friends. Remember, sharing is caring. Reviews help an awful lot. Please leave us a review. Until next time, be kind and rewind.
Until next time.